him in our room, but.
Okay, it looks like we're almost live now.
Awesome.
I wonder if I'll be able to see it.
Oh, mine says meeting is now streaming live on Facebook.
Perfect. So we will get started. I am Kertisha Riley. I'm a career coach at the University of Tennessee in the Center for Career Development and Academic Exploration, and welcome to our Employer Spotlight. This is a summer initiative that we've started. It's a chance for you all to hear from different employers throughout the summer in these 30-minute Q&A sort of interview sessions. And so today we have Revature, and I'm going to be speaking with Kelsey. Kelsey, we rehearsed this and I didn't even get it. So Kelsey, say your name for me, please.
Kelsey Pitaluga.
Pitaluga, I knew. That eventually. So we're speaking with Kelsey Pitaluga today, and I'm just going to jump in and start us off with Kelsey, if you'll tell us a little bit about yourself and about your role at Revature.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kertisha. So my name is Kelsey. I am a regional campus recruiter at Revature. I sit out of a home office in Atlanta, so not too far from you guys, just down the road from Knoxville, but our headquarters is actually in Reston, Virginia. So I sit out of my home office all the time. And so not that much has changed for me since the pandemic, since I'm always here.
Awesome. And so I know a little bit about Revature, but let's share with our listeners and our viewers about what the company is specifically, and we can go into what are some opportunities for students or recent alumni.
Absolutely. So Revature is a tech talent development program. And what that means is we bring in recent graduates, so people who have just completed their bachelor's degree or their master's degree. And regardless of whether you come from a background already in computer science or maybe art history, something totally not related to STEM, that doesn't matter for us. We are able to bring you in and get you connected with a career in technology. We do this in a couple of ways, but the main way that we do this is through a 10 to 12 week training period that is actually a part of your onboarding. So I liken it to sort of a boot camp style training because it is going to be, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, very intense stuff, really kind of distilling down the information that you need to know to be successful in your role as a software engineering consultant. So after that training period, that 10 to 12 week period, depending on what it is that you are learning, you are then matched with one of our clients. We have over 50 different clients within our portfolio. Many are going to be larger, Fortune 500 organizations, as well as some government agencies. So we get you matched with those clients, and then you work on a consulting project with them for a period, typically of about 2 years.
Awesome. So Kelsey, you already launched into a little bit about what are some of the criteria you look for in candidates, but can you just elaborate on that a little bit? I know with the students that I work with in the Center for Career Development, Academic Exploration, I see mainly STEM students, so that are, folks who are majoring in the sciences or technology or in math. And so that seems like a really good fit, but it sounds like you might have opportunities, or this program might be open to really any student. Is that true?
Yes, absolutely. Great clarification question. So while the majority of students who end up coming to onboard with us at Revature are STEM background students, particularly those more in the technology side, we have pathways for everyone, regardless of your major or even your GPA or past experience. We really try to close that opportunity gap that exists in, the period between graduation and finding that successful career in tech. But I will say it's definitely a fast track if you have a little bit of background in, computer science, any type of object-oriented programming, things like that. However, I should also mention we have a training platform that's totally free for anyone to use, whether you're looking to apply for a role at Revature or not, called Revature Pro. It is an app in the App Store. It's also a website that I can link up later in the comments or something like that. But that platform will help you prepare for a tech screen later on in, either your career looking toward joining Revature or another tech company. So I've actually joined it. I'm a very non-technical person. Zoom is about the upper capacity of my technical skills. But we have that platform available for anyone who is, maybe a non-STEM major or has no background with coding or programming, people will typically spend about a month working on these kind of self-paced micro courses. And what that does is kind of helps you get that foundation in some type of object-oriented programming that will give you a little bit more confidence as you approach a more formal technical assessment.
So it sounds like Revature Pro is a great way to kind of test the waters to see if this is something that you would be interested in the longer tech development program.
Yes, absolutely. The couple of key differences is that it is entirely self-paced. So our actual 10 to 12 week training after employment, that is going to be instructor led. Right now it's happening over Zoom, just like this meeting. But typically that happens at one of our 5 satellite training facilities. Of course, everything's online right now because of COVID. But yes, the benefit I think of Revature Pro is if you are, not yet graduating. So if you're a junior or sophomore and you just kind of want to get ahead and work on getting that leg up on the competition, if you're not already coming in with that experience, that is a great way to not only gain those skills, but also we have insight into who is completing what courses on the back end of our platform. So we can say, ooh, I see that, this candidate has really been working hard. They've taken all of these courses within Revature Pro. They're probably pretty committed. That will certainly stand out on your application.
Yeah. So viewers, if you are listening and you're interested, it sounds like it's a great idea to start some of the courses. And, even if you're not really looking for opportunities right now, it may set you up for different ones in the future. Yeah. So let's kind of zoom out a little bit because we're focused on the program and we'll get back to that in a little bit with a couple of more questions. But I'm curious from the company perspective as well as kind of climate in the program, what is that like? Or can you speak to what it's been like for you as a recruiter and then what you see in terms of the program itself?
Yes, absolutely. So I actually joined Revature February 24th, so right before the kind of pandemic madness hit. And I am so grateful for that. It's been an incredible journey. What I would say is probably my favorite part about the culture of Revature is that it is very flat. You can walk right into our CEO, Ashwin's office and make a suggestion or a recommendation. He will listen to you. He will follow up with you. He will take that feedback into consideration. If you say, hey, I have this idea, what if we did this? It's very, very approachable. So you certainly have the ability to relate directly to those higher ups and people in the C-suite, things like that, that I've not found in previous roles with other companies before joining Revature. So that's something that I really do love. As far as the kind of environment in training or as you are a Revature employee, I definitely think it is one of, challenge yourself, do work hard, but of course, it's very much so a really supportive and engaging culture. The couple of times that I got to go up and visit the Reston headquarters before things, officially locked down, everyone in training and a lot of the other teams would be going out for, trivia nights, karaoke, really fun stuff. So you can tell that it's a pretty young company. So everyone really is friends outside of work as well. And that's been amazing. We still have happy hours multiple times a week to join, pop in on different teams on Zoom and things like that, and just kind of catch up with people. But it's definitely an environment that fosters that sense of community and really driving you to be your best in every way.
Yeah. And so kind of carrying that or kind of moving forward with just more like getting a better idea of the tech talent development program. What is a typical, if you can outline it, a typical day or, what can a candidate or what can someone in the program expect to encounter as they go throughout the program?
Yes, excellent question. So the probably biggest caveat here is it will entirely depend on the client that we are preparing you to consult with. So this is a key part of our model that can be a little bit tricky to explain, but I'm going to try and break it down as best I can. So
Okay.
even though I said it is boot camp like, a key difference aside from the fact that, of course, typically you pay for a boot camp and this is, not only free, but paid training because it's a part of our onboarding. The material that you learn will depend on the clients that we are kind of grooming you to be connected to. So, that may look like full stack Java, it may be Pega or, another platform entirely, but we have a 98% placement rate for people who have gone through this 10 to 12 week program. It typically takes about 1 to 2 interviews with the prospective clients at that kind of last 2-week portion of the training before we're able to get you that match. So how it would look is the client will come to us and say, hey, we're going to need 30 people trained up in Salesforce by November 1st. And we will then write a very specific training curriculum just for their needs. And that way, once you're going through that program, you don't have to worry about filling in any other gaps, thinking, what if they need this, project experience? What if I need to have this certification? Anything that they're going to need or want from you as a consultant, we will absolutely make sure that you have, so that once you are, there on day 1 of your consulting role, you are ready to hit the ground running, feel really confident. We also work on professional development skills and project management, project development, all sorts of things. So it's really a very 360 approach to preparation for launching that successful career.
So I get the sense that Revature really walks with you throughout like your interests, with prepping you for, or giving you access to prep or courses to help develop some of those foundational skills. And then once you're in the tech talent development program, you really get a chance to dive deeper, also really tailor your experience to who you're hoping you'll work with after you're done with the program. And so it's really like, not necessarily hand holding, though that is pretty sweet, but really supporting you along the way.
Yes, absolutely. And we try to carry that process all the way through the point that you are matched with your client as well. So I mentioned it's typically about a period of 2 years. We ask our candidates to make that 2-year commitment to their client, because that's typically, if you're relocating for them, that's what they want to see, to say, all right, we know now that you are in it for the long haul. You're going to engage yourself and immerse yourself in our company culture, as well as, still being a part of Revature. But what I think is something that we've really been able to be successful with in this regard is, after that relocation following training, of course, outside of pandemic times, when you relocate to your client site, in most of our client sites now, we have what we call software engineer ambassadors. And those are people just like, probably many viewers today, who have gone through our initial training program, come on as Revature employees and are now working as consultants in the field in one of our various client sites. And they are sort of like an RA on campus. You're not going to live with them. They're a little bit more hands off than that, but they may make recommendations and say, oh, this is a great area of town to find, a cheap apartment, or a great place to go out at night, a great place to go shopping. Okay. Things like that. They also organize, typically, of course, not during social distancing, but they'll typically organize monthly happy hours or get-togethers, so that even if, they might be at a different company within Charlotte, North Carolina, we'll say they will bring together everyone who is working as a consultant from Revature on a client site in that area, so that they can get together and still kind of carry on that sense of community that was developed during training.
Very nice. That's, it's good to hear that the support is not just focused on how you're performing or, what you're doing and how you're developing, but also kind of more of that personal side of it, like recognizing, hey, this is probably a first-time job, or, you're new to the field. And so new to a field and new to a location. And so giving you that support for some of those outside of your like day-to-day job is really good too. You brought up a really good point that things look a little different now that we're in this pandemic. So can you speak to what are some of the changes that have gone on to address, the needs that have arisen with COVID-19 and, still being able to meet your clients' needs during this pandemic?
Absolutely. So like pretty much everyone else, this kind of threw us for a loop, at the very beginning. So our trainings historically have taken place in one of those 5 locations I was referencing earlier, but just in case, for those sophomores and juniors watching who might join post-pandemic times, those locations are New York City, Reston, Virginia, that's our headquarters, just outside of Washington, D.C., Morgantown, West Virginia, Tampa, Florida, and Arlington, Texas. So a big pivot, because typically, we relocate people to those sites. You get your relocation stipend. You have the opportunity to stay in our corporate housing, which is a lot of fun. I think that's probably honestly the best segue from, campus life to your first kind of full-time career. And that's something that's, of course, changed now that everything is taking place over Zoom. So these trainings are still instructor led, and they're still very much so time bound within that, synchronous period of 9 to 5 or 10 to 6 to, accommodate for remote learning. But we are very much so looking forward to getting back to the days where everyone is on site together, working on those projects together and developing those connections. Now, after that, that's typically, a brief relocation, just 10 weeks or 12 weeks, which is why we set up that housing so that, you don't have to necessarily sign a short-term lease or look for an Airbnb. Yeah, anything like that. And also just because it's so much fun to have that sense of community. But after that, you would typically relocate to your client site. And some, that can still happen after the pandemic is over. So you'll be assigned to a client and know, okay, this is, where I'm going once it's safe to go places and things like that. But that part has changed a little bit less because, that looks very dependent on the culture of the individual client's office. So some of our clients already had a pretty flexible, work from home schedule and said, okay, we're always in office on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You can flex work on, these days, things like that. Some are much more traditional, much more rigid in the, 8 to 4, 9 to 5, things like that. So that element, I would say, is very much so dependent on kind of the culture in that specific client site, that office. But yes, that part is a little bit more fluid just in general. So the biggest change we've seen is kind of pivoting from that format where, you're working on multiple group projects within the period of training. And now that's happening remotely. I think current college students are probably better suited to that than I would be to, try and take a remote project or a group project remotely. But that's definitely been something that we've sort of learned to work around, and everything has really fallen into place quite nicely, honestly, at this point. We're in a groove now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing that in some of how here at the university we're making some changes. And so, it's good to hear that a lot of different companies, Revature included, are really kind of going with the flow. Even if it felt like a forced thing at first, it sounds like you all are really taking it in stride and figuring out what's the way that you can make this beneficial and still have great engagement, even if we have to be remote.
Yes, thank you. That's been the tricky part, but definitely very rewarding because, now if things needed to go remote for any reason in the future, we have that structure in place. And I think everyone around, is kind of getting the sense that this could be carried on if it needed to be. So it's a good feeling.
So for our listeners and our viewers who are watching, what are some recommendations you have moving forward? So if they were to not just be interested in Revature itself, but kind of thinking, about their internship or job search as a whole, what would be some tips you have for them?
Sure. So first of all, my heart goes out to, any recent grads or college students looking for internships, things like that. I know that this is just unprecedented in terms of being a challenging time, but I would say, first of all, be, gentle with yourself. Know that, everyone is going through such a crazy period of change. Everyone is pivoting. If it takes a recruiter longer than you might typically expect to get back to you, don't worry that has anything to do with your credentials or, your eligibility for that role. I can say, speaking just from experience with Revature, that our window that used to be, 24 to 48 hours of follow-up is now more like that 3 to 5 day window because we've, been inundated with excellent applications and things like that. But in terms of preparing yourself to, look for work in the future, if you have a little bit of time between now and graduation, I would say taking some online courses if you have a break over the summer or, just some extra free time, whether it's something like Revature Pro or something on edX or Coursera. I think that's something that reflects your interest, but also shows that you really are kind of a lifelong learner, someone willing to put in that time and invest in yourself. That goes a long way. And definitely include any of those, even non-credit courses on your resume, because that's, something that shows us that when we all had this time to, watch Netflix for an extra, 6 hours a day or something like that, you made the decision actively to invest in yourself, invest in your education, and, continue growing your skill set. So that would be kind of my main recommendation there. But do all of that while still being kind to yourself and knowing that, it is okay to need to take a break and pull back and say, I've got to conserve my energy for this today, because these are really challenging times and we have to remember to be kind to ourselves.
Yeah. And Kelsey, I love that you included, taking some rest and like really focusing on times where you need either to focus on wellness or, balancing out some of the tips or the activities that you mentioned, like going on edX or Coursera and, really developing those skills in this, in between time, but also recognizing that pandemic life is a lot. And so looking at a way that you can really hit both of those or kind of cover a lot of bases, I think is so critical. And kind of as a not so shameless plug for my office, if you're wondering how to, figure out what's the best plan for yourself, or you just really would love to chat with someone about what activities or what internships can I engage in, or what are some ways I can boost my resume or kind of work on some of those materials, we're here to help even in this virtual world at this point. So check out career.utk.edu for more information. We can help current students, but also alum. So check us out. But yeah, thank you, Kelsey, for that. And as we get to the end of our time and we're wrapping up together, you were on campus actually right before the, the pandemic hit. And so I was curious, what are some things that you look for in Vol specifically, and why are you even interested in recruiting here at UT?
Oh, I love this question. So that was actually, I think, my second week at Revature that I got to be on campus, and it was a blast. I did get to visit 6 different campuses of other institutions in my first kind of 2 or 3 weeks before the world shut down. And I will say that UT Knoxville just had the most engaging and kind students who did, stop when you're in the hallway, kind of trying to grab people between class changes and things like that and say, oh, hey, do you have a minute to talk about this? Everyone was so genuine and just so kind and down to earth. And I think people underestimate how far those kind of, we now call them essential skills over, soft skills, because they're just as essential as the quantitative skills of having, the whatever coding or programming language you want to work in, the ability to, make that eye contact with people and to shake someone's hand with, I guess now hand sanitizer and gloves, but the ability to
a nice wave or an elbow tap.
Yeah, elbow taps. The ability to really, present yourself as a human is so critical. And I will say every student I interacted with when I was on campus in March, I think, yes, in March, was just so wonderful, so engaging, so so thoughtful, and just really great talent. I met more students on campus at UTK than I did any of the other, half dozen campuses that I got to speak with. And it was the same time frame. So I definitely think there's something really special about the talent that you guys have. And I'm sure it has everything to do with the wonderful guidance of your office as well.
Yeah. So you hear that, Vols, make sure you're, engaging those essential skills and reaching out and chatting, even if you aren't sure what the opportunity really is. It never hurts to ask questions and really, get to know a recruiter or get to know a company a little bit better. So as we wrap up for today, Kelsey is actually having a couple of ways that you can engage with her after this chat. So Kelsey, I'm going to kick it over to you if you want to, explain how viewers and listeners can reach out to you after this spotlight is over.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I've created a unique link for today's event, and there is no time limit on, when that expires. So this is a special link that will bring you into our talent pool, our talent community. And whether you are, a sophomore or junior, not quite yet looking for this permanent full-time role after graduation, or a senior or someone who just graduated in May, really getting into that planning phase of your next step, I would encourage you to still fill out this link, drop your resume in there, because it's a pretty short contact form, and that will let us kind of loop you in and stay connected. We'll follow up with you. If you are, 30 days or fewer from graduation, or if you're an alumni, you'll automatically be contacted by a member of our technical recruiting team. So they're going to go through your credentials and take a look at what you have going on and say, oh, this person could be great for this role, and they will reach out to you directly. But also I will be able to reach out and say, hey, I've got this open house coming. I'm going to go through a little bit more in depth all of the, processes that we have surrounding, applications, through training, through relocation, placement, things like that. And I actually have one of those sessions today at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So yes, if you are watching this and you've got nothing going on in an hour and a half and you'd like to join, go ahead and fill out that link. I don't know if it's already a part of the comment or in the kind of window. I'm not very familiar with Facebook Live, but if not, I will plug it in there. You'll be able to click that link, fill it out, and then we will connect with you. I'll send you an email a little bit before that 2 o'clock meeting with the link to join if you'd like more info. And if you're watching this, on a replay a little bit later on, no worries. You can still fill out that link. We'll still stay connected with you. And I'll also be sharing the link to Revature Pro, that platform that I mentioned a little bit earlier on, that's good to kind of help get those foundational elements, those fundamental skills under your belt, whether you're watching this as a freshman or whether you're just maybe an art history major looking to make that pivot into a career in technology. So I will share that with you as well.
Awesome, perfect. So I will make sure those links are available for you all in the comments after this video is over. But again, check out our website for more information. You can also log into Handshake and see Revature, their company profile there, and get in touch that way. So there's a lot of really good ways that you can make contact with Kelsey and with Revature. So hopefully what you've heard today is enticing and if you're interested, that you act on that. But we are here with questions and we're here to support you in that process. So again, I'm Kertisha Riley. I want to thank Kelsey for chatting with me today. And that wraps up our employer spotlight for today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks so much for coming, guys.